Okay, good afternoon, everyone. In keeping with time, we will start because we need to bring the entire session to closure by 5:30. My name is Indran Naidoo. I'm going to be the commentator for the session and also the chairperson, so I'm wearing two caps right now. It is a special joint session, and we've managed, given the fact that we have made this also an agency event, we have been very blessed to have representatives from key UN agencies, together with the representative from IDEAS. I'm going to pose two questions to the panel, and I'm going to allow them about 6 minutes each to respond specifically to the two questions, at the end of which we will open the floor for questions and answers and direct interaction and discussion to keep it that way. And in the end, I will just give some few concluding thoughts, by no means trying to second-guess what these various agencies here are saying. So with those few words, allow me to introduce the panel. We have from UNHABITAT, the Chief of the Evaluation Unit, Martin Barugahare. We have from UNICEF, Ms. Ada Ocampo, the Senior Evaluation Advisor. UNIDO, Mr. Javier Guarnizo, the Officer in Charge, the Office for Independent Evaluation. From UN Women, we have Marco Segone, the Director of the Office of the Independent Evaluation Office, Marco. That's what's supposed to be put there, keyword independence. And IDEAS, Rashmi, Agarwal, the board member of IDEAS. So in the same order of speak, I'm going to call the distinguished delegates to come and make an input of about 6 minutes. I'm going to stick to time. And starting with Martin, there's two questions that I pose to the panel. The first one, in light of the SDGs that are looming, practically, what is your outfit, your shop going to do to support it? And secondly, if you could reflect very briefly on your agency and how it links to that, which SDGs. So there's two elements, one very practically as an evaluation person that would become very significant as we move to the SDGs, because we're all going to have our work sort of cut out. And the second issue, your support to a marked extent in the broader mandate of the agency as it works through. Those are the two questions. Ladies and gentlemen, I have pleasure in calling Martin to the podium.
Good afternoon. My name is Martin Barugahare, and as you heard, I work for UNHABITAT in Nairobi. First, to respond to that question, we should appreciate that these SDGs are universal, ambitious, and still very enormous. We don't know how to do it. How do I put it? If you look, for example, specifically for Goal 11, which has 10 targets, and this is where habitat is of interest. Each target, if you analyze it carefully, has more than other 5 targets. The first target on that goal has to deal with housing, has to deal with basic services without specifying where basic services goes. It has to deal with slum upgrading. So there is still a lot to do in terms of making these sustainable development goals in a way that they can have results frameworks, have adequate indicators so that they can be evaluated. And I think there is a challenge there of enhancing the variability of these sustainable development goals. But what can we do in terms of the agency I present or in terms of UNEG? Of course, if we are saying that these SDGs are global, but have to be operationalized at the country level. At country level, it's developing a lot of work still to do there in terms of concrete actions. In terms of these concrete actions, don't go to the technical part only of making evaluation capacities improve, but also it should go to decision makers, targeting those decision makers, the policy makers, to be aware of the importance of evaluation. And at least we have the entry points, we have the opportunities. 2015 has been a turning year. We are moving from MDGs to SDGs, of which one of the worst elements was that evaluation aspects in MDGs was a forgotten aspect. This time they said, student, we have evaluation year 2015, of which we have a special resolution which now gives more mandate. But in terms of UNEG, what can be really done to make sure that these capacities are improved? UNEG is a professional body of evaluators of different agencies, of which different agencies have specific mandates. These agencies themselves at times, and many, the capacity is not there. In terms of resources, in terms of human staff, they are struggling. Even in UNEG, we are struggling not knowing how our strategic plan 2014-2019 can be implemented. So there is also a challenge of capacity in UNEG itself, capacity in these agencies we present. Then how do we figure out to make sure that the capacities at the national level are enhanced? It won't be done without strategic partnership. And this strategic partnership, I can see we are moving ahead. We are moving ahead with our partners. We are moving ahead with innovative ways of making sure that UNEG products and those products that can really improve the capacity and build capacity are just taken to stakeholders, relevant stakeholders. E-learning programs have been started, and thanks to SEG, we can see parliamentarian forums being on to make sure that the policy makers are involved. It is not only for evaluation community. We are seeing that products targeting really a national capacity enhancement, especially we have a product tips on how national capacities can be developed. It was developed in 2012 by UNEG, revised. It is on our websites. And there are lots and lots of products which can be used, the standards, the norms and standards which can be used still to improve, to build the capacity at the national level. But that would mean UNEG now has a duty or responsibility to make sure that the ways of improvement of sharing these products, the ways of improvement in a way these concrete actions of e-learning reach the targeted people. And those all comes in the context of the challenges. The challenges of evaluating SDGs at country level will still remain, have to be addressed, because not only that there are no capacities, the issues of coordination, the issues of evaluation competing and having no space when you compare with performance audits, when you compare with monitoring, the issues of evaluation, as the Secretary General put it, that evaluation is okay, is a key, but it's not popular, and it is not easy. So, to cry it all, UNEG and the agencies we present have to come up with strategies in terms of addressing the challenges or weaknesses, especially pertaining to limited resources. And to limited resources, we said, if there are no resources, how do we do it? And there we say the key message should be partnership. Partnership to target the policymakers, partnership to target the technical part of evaluators. But also, we should ourselves coordinate those activities. There is a lot going on in capacity development. UNDP is doing it, UNICEF is doing it, but all these efforts are not coordinated. So there is also an issue of coordination, so that the coordination of all these UN agencies in capacity building can be coordinated and bring a big impact. Another issue which should not be forgotten is that, and let me put this example, that really building capacity at national level will not only go on nationals, we have to also to build it in UN circles. If you take an example, there is evaluation of UNDAF, since evaluation is system-wide evaluation going on. What it found out is that out of 90 UNDAFs that were programmed, and it is mandatory that these UNDAFs should be evaluated, only 26 were found to have done 36, but those ones which were really evaluations were 26. So what is it that making these UNDAFs, when they are programmed by UN people, not being interested in evaluations? Of course, the reasons raised was, no funding, but how can the funding not be there if the programming had captured resources for evaluations? So that is also an indication that there is still a need to work with countries' teams, UN country teams, to see how these evaluations can be stimulant in the sustainable development. I will stop here.
Thank you very much, Martin. Very practical issues, but you also raised some broader points which some colleagues may not know about, and we need to elaborate on the concept of UNCT, UN, what's that, delivering us? UNDAFs, yes, and all the other challenges that we have. We could probably, I'm still figuring them through. I'll now call Ada Ocampo, the Senior Evaluation Advisor, to share her thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Indran. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to share with you some ideas that are being discussed within UNICEF and also in UNEG. First, I would like to start saying that during these days and even before in different forums had been discussed about the complexities of evaluating the SDGs, the number of indicators, the number of targets, etc., and many other challenges. I would like to focus now in the opportunities we will have in order to advocate for the evaluation and actually contribute to the evaluation of the SDGs. First, I do think that the SDGs provides us with an opportunity to further position evaluation at the global, regional, and national levels. It's a tremendous opportunity to continue advocating for evaluation to be present in. It's also an opportunity to, I'm sure all of you have the evaluation of SDGs. So it's also an opportunity for us to contribute the implementation of the Bangkok Declaration. And of course, to contribute to the implementation of the 2020. How to do it? Well, UNICEF alone can do some things, but it will be much more strategic for UNICEF to partner, and it's already partnering with able partners, with other UN agencies, and UNICEF is co-leading able SDGs, co-chairing. able SDG is a network that will be formally launched in Nepal next month in the able Partners Global Forum. And able SDG is a global network that, co-chaired by able partners and UNEG. A framework of the to work with partnerships and to do mapping studies and so forth, and also activities related to national capacity development. So to work with able partners and more concretely with able SDGs is an opportunity that we have. It will also be important to work with regional instances that already exist. At the regional level, and I would like to highlight two instances that I consider vital for doing work related to the evaluation of the SDGs. First, the United Nations regional networks, UNEDP in Asia and the Pacific, and there is one in Africa and in some other regions as well. These instances are important if we partner with them to work with them at the national level. I would like also to highlight that as Martin has mentioned, regional parliamentarians forum for development and evaluation have been established in different countries at the national level will account on the implementation of the SDG way to work. In the frame of the Global Assembly resolution on national evaluation capacity development, implementation of the Global Assembly. What to do? There are various strategies that we can follow. I would like to highlight the need to work within the UN family and in raising awareness on the need to position evaluation within the SDG agenda. It will also probably be important to identify countries that have the willingness to work with us, with the UN, in evaluating the SDGs. Probably country cases in different regions that can also work with us. We will need to have a role in sharing experiences, in good practices, etc. With relation to the second question, can do in relation to specific with regards to the evaluation of the SDGs, well, I would say that the main important thing we can do is get involved in the evaluation of those SDGs that are directly related to the mandate of UNICEF, but at the same time, we have a big challenge that at the same time is a great opportunity, is to contribute to the evaluation of the extent to which the equity dimensions have been integrated and mainstreamed in the SDGs in general. That's basically what I would like to share with you today, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ada. We're going to have enough time for discussion. UNIDO, Xavier, thank you so much.
Thank you. My name is Javier Guarnizo, UNIDO Office for Independent Evaluation. I would like to supplement my colleagues with some challenges, food for thinking. UNIDO has a clear SDG and SDG 9, the triple I, industry, innovation, infrastructure. More in the industry, but also innovation and infrastructure, of course. So we are proud of it in UNIDO. We have at least one full, strong SDG, plus others, not the only one, they are integrated every single. But we have also been implementing some capacity building in member states in the counterpart ministers. Every year we run a regional workshop in different regions. We have conducted so far 5 to teach, to develop capacities for managing evaluations to our ministry counterparts, with the purpose of them to be able to be engaged in the evaluations. We conduct country evaluations, thematic evaluations, project evaluations, and the ownership of that, we think is very important to be in their side, not in the office of evaluation in the agency, but in the countryside. So we've been building that modestly, but is moving forward. Now we have the SDGs challenge. The shape and the context is changing, and then we are starting to think what can be done from our perspective, from the Office of Independent Evaluation and from the UNIDO agency as such, for helping countries to go in that route to the 2030. The route to the 2030 is unknown. It's a road that has to be built. And there is not only one road. Every country should develop their own road. And that is the challenge at the end of the day for an agency like UNIDO, that we need to be able to respond to each member state that is ready to embark in this journey. Not all of them will do the same at the same level, at the same speed. Not all of them will cover every detail, every target in the SDG 9, for instance, and in other SDGs. So how to customize our capacity for helping them in an effective and efficient way. In addition to that, we have the complexity and the challenges of the different voices from all the other agencies at operational level, programmatic level, but also in the evaluation function. The evaluation function, thanks to the UNEG, has created a good set of standards, harmonized, and is a really mature profession in the UN, which is good. It's a good starting point. More or less, we speak the same language, but the program side, unfortunately, is not. Our function in the evaluation, in the United Nations Evaluation Group, is supported by the UNEG partnership, and that is a good basis for doing that. What we need to help our member states has to also be linked to the principles of the SDGs. We heard during the previous days, has to be country-led. We have to achieve as a society that the driver seat is occupied by the country, not by a UN agency, which is not easy. It's easy to say. It's easy to say. I've worked at many agencies already in all the functions. It's very easy. We've been saying all the time since I have memory, has to be demand-driven, has to be country-driven. That is easy to say and sounds fantastic, but at the end of the day, it's not easy to find. There are conflicting interests and agendas that sometimes make the UN side forget that. So the challenge not to forget country-led implementation of SDGs, which has as a consequence for the evaluation, country-led evaluations, which is the main target we should try to think on. That means if we position ourselves into 2030, the ideal situation would be that every single report on achievement or lack of achievement of the SDGs by 2030 is done by every member state, not by the UN. That is my dream, let's say. I have a dream. This is 2030 countries doing impact evaluations and showing the world what they have done in terms of SDGs. That should drive our efforts in the UN evaluation as well. So building capacities, building skills for countries to do that is important. How to do that is a different discussion, and we would like to hear from you, because this is a unique opportunity for the UNEG to listen to clients and beneficiaries of evaluations. Personally, I think we should be more focused, targeting to help countries that are ready to be helped. Sometimes we just dilute and distribute the seeds everywhere, knowing that most of the seeds or many of the seeds are going to the sand, to non-fertile land. And we claim that we don't have resources. So to balance that a little, we should try to target, which is politically complicated sometimes. So politically, we still need probably to throw seeds in non-fertile land. But the balance has to be at least adjusted. So not looking perfection, but rationalizing efforts and helping effectively member states, countries to do systematic, robust, voluntary, effective, participatory, and transparent SDGs follow-up and review systems, approach mechanisms. Just to finalize, I think that we have listening at the previous session here was about the indicators and how it is being developed these days also in parallel. The challenge now, today, for evaluation as well, is to help countries on the evaluability aspect, on which are going to be the realistic, measurable, smart indicators that they can use for measuring progress towards SDGs. Measure is fundamental. We have to measure, 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 and evaluation is all about measuring, measure, measure, plus analyzing, 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 and helping others to help others at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Once again, very practical things to do, list to be addressed. I'll ask now Marco, UN Women, to give a perspective.
Okay, thanks a lot. As we are among friends and colleagues, I'm staying here, so there is more informal. And I hope you will allow me to speak covering my two hats, as UNEG chair and then as director of UN Women Evaluation. So as a UNEG chair, just two good news. The first one is that nowadays, in the UN and also within UN members, I think that everybody agrees on the fundamental importance of country-led evaluations. I mean, you just say your dream for 2030 is that all evaluation will be done by the countries themselves. And I would add, not only that the country should evaluate their own national development policies, but I would add the country should evaluate the UN contribution to the national evaluation, national development policies. So this aspect of the importance of country-led evaluation and therefore the importance of national evaluation capacity development is something that today everybody agrees, but it was not the case just a few years ago. So that, I would say, is the first good news. The second good news when it comes to UNEG is that this mind shift has had an implication, a positive implication, a positive consequence. That is that in the past, UNEG was very much inward-looking, and now UNEG is becoming outward-looking. So UNEG is still focusing on strengthening the capacities of UN agencies to evaluate, and that's why we are revising the norm and standard. We have a system of peer review. We have also different guidance, etc., to strengthen the capacity of evaluation capacity of the UN. But more and more, we are working to strengthen national evaluation capacities. And how? So at the three levels, and as I was saying, at global, regional, and national level. When it comes to the global level, every year we organize what we call the UNEG Evaluation Weeks. And during the UNEG Evaluation Week, we have a high-level event. So for the first time in the history of UNEG, this year we have been able to get the UN Secretary General to come to the UNEG Evaluation Week and to talk to very high-level UN staff and also member states representatives on the importance of evaluation in policy making and in the decision making. Some of the clips that we saw when the Secretary General was talking, it was exactly during the UNEG Evaluation Week in New York in March this year. The efforts of UNEG at global level is also at advocacy level. For the first time in the 70 years of history of the UN, we got in December 2014 a standalone UN resolution by the General Assembly asking for all the different stakeholders, so member states, civil society, UN agencies, etc., to work together to strengthen national evaluation capacities. And every year, the Secretary General will have to report back to the UN General Assembly on what has been the progress. And that resolution, it has been thanks to the UNEG advocacy work with different stakeholders. The SDGs is another example where in the beginning, in the draft outcome document of the SDGs, while it's true that there was a clear call for a follow-up and review mechanism of the SDGs, evaluation was completely absent from the SDGs. Thanks to the work of UNEG, once again in partnership with other stakeholders, now we have evaluation integrated in the SDG outcome document. So these are the kind of, let's say, normative work that UNEG is doing at global level to strengthen an enabling environment for evaluation. But in addition, different UN members are doing much more. Just last month, UNESCO, in partnership with the OECD, the European Evaluation Society, and the French Evaluation Society, they organize a high-level events on the use of evaluation in policy making, and they had ambassadors from different countries going there and talking about the importance of evaluation. Next month, the UN Rome-based agencies, the World Food Programme, FAO, IFAD, etc., they will organize also an event on availability of SDG 2. Next year, UN Women will also organize both a technical level and high-level events on the evaluation of SDG 5, etc., etc. So different UN members are really trying to work together in partnership to come up with a clear guidance on how to evaluate the SDGs. That's a global level. At regional level, as Ada already mentioned, there are more and more regional UN evaluation groups. UNEDAP, that is the UN Regional Evaluation Group for East Asia, is the most historical one. But in other regions, these groups are not existing yet. And that's why UNEG is trying to support other regions to come up with these kind of groups, because it's very important that the technical assistance and the support is given by the regional level rather than by headquarters. And at country level, what we are trying to do is we are trying to organize, to coordinate ourselves, I mean those UN agencies that have a presence in the countries, to work together through the United Nations country team groups for monitoring evaluation to support the government. UNEG is also writing to the United Nations resident coordinator, also inviting to work together to support national evaluation capacities. So that's more or less when it comes to UNEG. Now, if I put my other hat as the director of evaluation at UN Women, As you know, there is a SDG 5 that is about gender, but in reality, gender equality is mainstream all over all the SDGs. Out of the 169 targets of the SDGs, 40 targets are about gender. So it's very important to strengthen the capacities to evaluate not only SDG 5, but all the SDGs with a gender lens. Now, that's obviously not possible to do it alone, and that's why also for UN Women, partnership is the key strategy to go forward. And that's why UN Women has been co-chairing EVAL Partners for the last 2 years. And now we are launching EVAL Gender Plus, and the plus means that it's not only about gender equality, but it's also about social equity. Really to strengthen national capacities to evaluate localized SDGs with an equity and gender lens. What we are doing is that we will be launching online consultations. We will have also technical workshops and high-level events to come up with guidance for evaluating SDGs with this gender and equity focus. And then we will give technical assistance initially for up to 6 countries to implement and to engender their own national evaluation systems. But as also the colleagues were saying, it's very important that we don't look only at the supply side of evaluation, but also at the demand side of evaluation. And that's why UN Women has been very active together with UNICEF, UNDP, and other UNEG members to strengthen, well, first of all, to facilitate the creation and strengthening these regional parliamentarian forums, making sure that these regional parliamentarian forums are both gender balance in terms of the parliamentarians who are part of these forums, so that we have both men but also women parliamentarians, but also making sure that in the priorities of these parliamentarian forums, there is the issue of an evaluation function or an evaluation policy that is also gender responsive. We are also working with local universities, like the example of Kenya, for local universities to come up with trainings or masters, etc., on gender responsive evaluations. And as Martin already mentioned, we are also conducting this e-learning also on gender responsive evaluations. So I think that there is really a great opportunity with SDGs to make sure that evaluation will be more and more at the center of development. And as the SDGs are very strong on the principle of no one left behind, I think that also evaluation should be very strong on the principle of no one left behind.
Thank you very much, Marco. I think the perspectives wearing your both hats are important. Rashmi, if you wish to sit, you may do so, but you could also come to the podium, make more of an impact.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the opportunity that I'm representing IDEAS. I would like to comment how IDEAS is working for the last so many years and how it plans to work in future. As we know that IDEAS is the only global evaluation association, and it has more than 1,000 members at the moment, and it is attuning itself to the changing and continuously evolving evaluation practices. Its activities revolve around 3 basic focus areas. One relates to the enhancing conceptual thinking in development evaluation. Another focus area of the IDEAS is governance and accountability for development, and the last one is the strengthening development evaluation capacities. So in this connection, these 3 focus areas are directly related to the SDGs. And as we know that the shift in emphasis from development to sustainable development has opened up various arenas. They are applicable to a much wider world, and the range and complexity issues covered in the Sustainable Development Agenda is likely to call for theoretical perspective as well as practical application, which requires a lot of thinking, and evaluators have a lot of potential to develop themselves and tackle a number of problems. So in this connection, IDEAS have already done a lot of work and would like to continue with the activities. There is a big challenge for national evaluation capacity development, and since IDEAS has an edge over other associations, being the global association, as well as it has penetrated into various developing countries because most of its members are from developing countries, it is doing capacity building in various manners. First, it has its collaboration with IPDET, which is doing the capacity development in various countries, including developing countries across the globe. Another strategy of developing capacities of IDEAS is the organizing the training workshops pre-global assemblies, and it is taking very relevant issues for capacity development. Another important area it has taken up is the thematic groups formation and working on it. Various thematic groups have been formed by IDEAS, for example, utilization of evaluations, the education sector, the health sector, the gender, the climate change, and it is taking up the new areas as well, which suits to SDGs, and we are planning to work further on these. For example, the SDGs include peace and security as conditional for sustainable development. IDEAS will continue to work in its thematic interest groups and in conferences like global assemblies to promote better understanding of what this means, how peace and security issues can be integrated into our understanding and evaluations of sustainable development. IDEAS had developed certain knowledge products which would be required for implementing and evaluating the SDGs. We talk about the ethics and standards. IDEAS has taken up work on development of the competencies for commissioners, managers, and evaluators. This work has been accepted by the General Assembly of IDEAS. I think this is the time that all of us take a note of this knowledge product. We modify, accept, adapt, or adopt whatever is applicable at a global level and suiting to the local conditions. The IDEAS has also worked on ethical issues and also have come out with a draft, with a knowledge product on ethics, ethical issues, and this is also in tune with the UNEG and other UN agencies, and it should be looked into. There is a need for advocacy for developing evaluation culture in various countries through having national evaluation associations, as well as capacity building, as I already said. And there is a need for advocacy for adopting evaluation policies in various countries. A number of developing countries have come out with their national evaluation associations. I am proud to say that recently India has launched Evaluation Community of India, EQI in short, at the Evaluation Association. And various other developing countries also have these kind of associations, and there is a need for their sustainability and resources to be given by various global organizations. The advocacy is also needed for the accreditation system, and this also can be done through collaboration and coordination. There are a number of, as I said, evaluation associations and networking. There is a need to come out of the inside the wheel approach, and we should coordinate with all the national evaluation associations and the regional associations to go for the development of the capacity building work, and IDEAS is looking forward to this kind of networking and association. IDEAS is also planning in future to have webinars and use of e-technology for development of capacities, which is very important these days, and sensitize regarding the formulation of national evaluation policies. In many countries, there are evaluation policies, but so many countries, specifically developing countries, do not have any evaluation policies, or if they have, they are not accepted. There are only guidelines, there is no explicit policy, so I think there is a need for advocacy and sensitization in this matter also. then there are certain issues I would like to bring to your kind attention, that there is a resource crunch and there is a need to pool up of resources as per the local needs. Whatever development products or knowledge products are coming up, they should have some kind of flexibility so that they could be adopted or adapted at local needs and as per the local conditions. Ideas has an edge over it because it has penetrated into the developing countries and it has some kind of base knowledge of the local conditions. So I think it would be a great idea that ideas go into these, collaborate with national talent of evaluators and develop capacities in this area. Lastly, I will also like to tell that IDEAS is taking on a mentoring program of young and emerging evaluators, and UN should also support young and emerging evaluators through involving them in their evaluations and capacity development program. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. All the members of the panel provided rich perspectives covering the key agencies, and also I think clearly indicates that a lot of progress has been made. We have about 35 minutes, and I think it's better use of time if we allow a question and answers from the audience, because what the colleagues have said is pretty much self-explanatory. So I open the floor now for discussions and direct interaction with members of the panel. If we could have a show of hands and we could allocate the microphones. Okay, I've got 1, 2 in the 3. Let's take the first 3 in the first round, and then I will come back to the next. Could we have the mics starting off here, please? The microphones.
Thank you very much. Working? I'm Johanna Penatz. I'm representing the Independent Office of Evaluation of IFAD. And IFAD is the International Fund for Agricultural Development and based in Rome, and also a UNEG member. I would like to add to what the panel has presented already and what Marco has mentioned, that the Rome-based agencies have joined up to organize a seminar, a high-level seminar on the evaluability of SDG 2. So we think before we can depart into a global evaluation agenda, we have to scrutinize the evaluability of the SDGs, whether they can actually be evaluated. And because it's close to our mandate as Rome-based agencies, we will focus on the SDG 2. During that seminar, we will look at issues like the changing role of evaluation. We will look at the challenges for evaluation, like the complexity and the interconnectivity within the SDG 2. And we will look at opportunities, for instance, based on improved data availability and strengthened M&E systems and new metrics for evaluation as well. We have that as a very high-level event, but we also see it as the beginning of an ongoing dialogue. And in particular, the target of our dialogue is our own agencies, because we think in order to strengthen the availability, we need to increase the ability of our own agencies to support effective M&E, for instance, in the countries we are working with, to streamline indicators and to strengthen capacities. We as evaluation outfits have very limited capacity to do so, so we need to work with the wider agencies. We also need to work more among the Rome-based agencies together with our partners and join up our efforts. So we see that as essentially as the beginning of a long journey to hopefully strengthen the availability of SDG 2. So that's what I wanted to add. So, thank you.
Thank you. We had a question, our gentleman over from here. And then a question on this end.
Good afternoon. Ilil Ranganathan, I'm with the World Health Organization.
Sure.
I think it's a good opportunity for us to be a little bit more critical of ourselves as UNEG, because I think what we are hearing in the last 2 days is constraints from member states in terms of resources, in terms of capacity, and also in terms of coordination, and very much coordination of the UN in the countries. Yeah, we've heard silos being mentioned, etc. So I think we are in a unique position, and at the same time, members of the panel have also mentioned partnership. So it's a combination of inward partnership and external partnership as well. For the UNEG, I think Marco pointed out quite nicely, we are in a good position. We are trying to work together. We're working in a much better way than we've previously worked, and I think that's good. But it also provides us with crossroads and an opportunity to take this one forward. So basically, from my perspective and looking at this agenda, I read it as the role of UNEG in promoting national evaluation capacity. And WHO is not going to be involved in national evaluation capacity because we've got a lot of things we have to do at the global level and internally. But we know that other colleagues are available, are ready to do it, are already doing it. So I think what would be good is that we as UNEG come up with a common, harmonized, coherent approach towards building national evaluation capacity. And we all play along, you know, we all have, and I think UNEG is in a unique role to help with that. And I don't think that's a big problem. You know, we're already setting up norms and standards, we've got common understanding for a number of other issues we're doing. So I think this is something we really need to take on board. Because if we don't do it well this time, a couple of years down the road, they're going to say, okay, you know, UN, you talk about one UN, but you don't do it, yeah?
Hello, my name is Elsbeth Elsbeck-Bruster. I'm from the Netherlands, currently living in Bali. And I have a question, I think, specifically for Ms. Agarwal, but maybe the other panel members could also answer it. I am currently finishing my PhD, and I would love to enter the field of monitoring and evaluation, especially impact assessments. And I heard you saying that ideas might try to help emerging evaluators or emerging scholars in the field. And I'm curious, in what way? Because I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take those one question. Yes, Namin. And after the 4 questions, I'm going to give the panel a chance to respond to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Indran. My name is Nermin. I work with UNDP in Egypt. I'm also involved with the voluntary organizational professional evaluation. Just a reflection on the role of UNEG. I think this is a golden opportunity for us as UN agencies to think through how we can use this window of opportunity to work with national agencies to prepare the platform for monitoring the SDGs. And let me share an experience from Egypt. Just recently, we had CAPMAS, which is the National Statistical Office, getting in touch with us to help them prepare the National Statistical Day. And they expressed interest in the SDG. And as UNDP, we wanted to work with other agencies to prepare for that day. However, we realized that it's really not that evident all the time. We want to come in with our technical experience, but also we want to make sure that as a national agency, they are aware of what it entails to monitor a long-term process of that scale. Also, we realized that working with other UN agencies, it's important for us to have a strong mandate to do that. In order to work on national evaluative capacity, it's really important to work as one UN. So maybe UNEG in this regard, especially now, is maybe in the strategy. Think through how this can be coordinated at the UN agency level with the different evaluation units within the different UN agencies, how we can approach national statistical offices, but other agencies, national agencies involved in this, in monitoring the SDG. I think the final thing is also about how we can use innovative tools and innovative approaches. There's a lot of initiatives taken by the private sector to deal with data, but also tackle the issues of big data, and that goes even beyond the role of National Statistical Office. How can we deal with that in a way that is conducive to monitoring the SDGs? Thank you.
Thank you. I think on the basis of those questions, I'm going to let the mic go through the members of the panel to respond specifically and then more generally to the general thrust of questions that have emerged. I like the issue on coordination. We need to be self-critical that as UNEG we are not fully coordinated and we continue operating in silos ourselves, yet we expect everyone else to operate in harmony. So let's try and answer these questions and reflect more critically on, rather than what we think we're going to do, and focus more on the effectiveness of what we are doing.
Maybe I start with what you said. I didn't clarify. What is UNDAF? What is the UNCT? United Nations country team. Really, these are the agencies you find in the country, and they are trying to plan together. They are trying to deliver together. So these are UN agencies at the country level. UNDAF is the strategic planning instrument, or a tool that makes these country teams plan together, taking into account the national priorities. In fact, they were initiated with UN reforms. UN has been always reforming. 1997, in the context of the Kofi Annan reforms, that's when they were initiated, with the intent of making UN more effective, reducing duplication, and delivering as UN as one. In terms of partnership now, I think there we still have some things to do. We still have to discuss, as I said, what is the best way of doing it. Some agencies can be capable, some cannot. But what is the commonality that we have as UNEG, that we build this capacity in a coherent, coordinated way. And doing that will entail a common understanding at the ground of saying, okay, this is taking the lead, this is responsible for this one can do this better, taking advantage of each agency where he's better on, or where he can make a difference. But this is where we need to really, as UNEG, to concentrate on who are our best partners, whom we can work with, that they can make effective in building these national capacities.
So, as I said, I think we are really living a kind of a historic moment where we have a great opportunity, that is the SDGs, that is calling for country-led evaluations to inform the follow-up and review mechanisms for the SDGs. So when it comes to UNEG, at global level, let's say at normative level, we already have the instruments. 2 years ago, UNEG, in partnership with the EVAL partner, with IOC, that is the federation of all the VOPEs, and with the EVALNet, that is the network of the evaluation offices from the OECD DAC countries, came up with a theory of change for national evaluation capacity development. So we have the understanding, a common understanding of what do we mean with national evaluation capacity development, and what are the key elements of national evaluation capacity development. And just very briefly, just for the sake of time, is the idea that when you talk about capacity development, you talk about the 3 levels, so individual capacities, institutional capacities, and enabling environment, and you talk about the supply side and the demand side. So we have the conceptual understanding. As UNEG also, a couple of years ago, we came up with the practical tips for national evaluation capacity development. Practical tips on what the UN could do to support national evaluation capacity. And that was also a study that was based on the lessons learned, good practices from all the different UN agencies when it comes to national evaluation capacity development. So we have both the theoretical understanding as well as the practical lessons learned and good practices to do that. So how to put it in practice? As I said, so UNEG mainly is composed of the evaluation office, the central evaluation office of 46 different UN agencies, and we have to recognize the diversity of these 46 UN agencies. It goes from the very big UNDP to the very small, where maybe the evaluation office is composed only by one person. But in spite of that, what we're trying to do is, as I said, to support the regional UN evaluation groups, networks, to the countries. For example, delivering training that are open also to countries. So the regional evaluation specialists from different places go jointly to a country to deliver technical assistance on the request of the UN country team. So these are all efforts in coordinating the different UN agencies, respecting the different roles of the central evaluation office, the regional offices, and the country offices. So definitely there is still a lot to do because the demand is absolutely huge. But what I think it's important that we recognize is that there has been a mind shift, and there has been a recognition of the importance of national evaluation capacity, and there are already actions to strengthen national evaluation capacities. But definitely, I mean, the demand is huge, and the gap between the capacity to strengthen national evaluation versus the demand, there is still a big gap.
Okay, I cannot agree more with Marco in the sense that we are living a very special moment, and probably we are part of a movement that is committed to trigger change, together with other partners. I don't want to appear that positive because the question is to be self-critical, so I would like, having set the tone about the tremendous opportunity we have, also to talk about UNEG and trying to be self-critical. I do agree that there has been coordination for developing guidelines on national evaluation capacity development. There have been, the tips have been released, and we have less and less opposition to national evaluation capacity development. However, do we really have people dedicated to national evaluation capacity development in our agencies? Well, in the case of UNICEF, that is known as one of the organizations that contributes clearly to national evaluation capacity development, internally, we have to take it as a voluntary work. Or when we have demonstrated that we have done the others, in addition, we take that, and we are the people the few staff that are involved in national evaluation capacity are looked at the passionates as those that are dreamers, etc., but still contribute to national evaluation capacity development. So I think that the need to further institutionalize national evaluation capacity development as a role of a staff within the evaluation office or through other mechanisms is still a challenge, and we need to do that. At the level of UNEG, we are still discussing what should be the role. We had in the last evaluation week, within the evaluation practice exchange, a talk show with directors of evaluation office and about the role of agencies and UNEG on national evaluation capacity development. The discussion is vibrant. There is no necessary consensus on whether that's a priority or who should move forward. So I think that in my view, if UNEG releases a position paper on national evaluation capacity development that will be endorsed by all members that belong to UNEG, that can make a difference. Because I would say that there are agencies that have more commitment than others, but all UN agencies have to be advocates of national evaluation capacity development. Whether we need to get more involved or less involved, we have a role to advocate and to position national evaluation capacity development. And I think that's important. That's, to me, one important thing we should move ahead. The second aspect is related to the regional networks that are networks that are doing lots of efforts to do capacity development, to do joint missions, to work together with very limited resources and lots of challenges. I had the great opportunity to be part of UNED until last year only, when I moved to headquarters. But the networks feel that they work in isolation. So the linkages between the global level, let's say UNEG, with the regional UN networks needs to be reinforced. And the Global Assembly resolution gives us an opportunity and a win-win situation where the global level can actually support these regional networks to do their work better. At the same time, the global level can benefit from the work of the regional networks to be able to report on the implementation of the Global Assembly resolution. So it can be a win-win situation. And I do think that UNEG had as an activity within its strategic plan to reinforce these regional networks, but for one reason or the other, it couldn't go forward. Now there is an opportunity, and we should move forward on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Not much to add, just a small comment on how, for instance, in UNIDO, we are trying to contribute to the capacity building with an on-the-job kind of training approach. Every single evaluation in UNIDO, the project level evaluation, we incorporate 1 or 2 national consultants for doing the evaluation, independent from the project, independent from the area evaluated, of course, and not trying to have evaluators from the country that are already experts on evaluation. Because we think that that on-the-job training is a good way also to young people, interested people, and come into the world of evaluation, have an opportunity to, on the job, have a real experience. That, of course, is, again, a trade-off with the quality of the whole evaluation, but with a good evaluation team leader that is been working properly, we think. So I agree that we have to think how to innovate also the evaluation approaches to make more engaged to the country level, more inclusive, more coming from the country more than from our side. The demand of evaluation from the agencies is still from the agencies. That is my self-critic. So the evaluations we are doing in UNIDO is because UNIDO has to do the evaluation, because the donor has requested evaluation, because UNIDO policy of evaluation needs that evaluation to be done. We have some but too few cases that we have a country required evaluation. We have some, but not many. So if that balance changes during the next year, that would be a good indicator for us that we are really moving to a country level evaluation, country-led evaluation. So that would be a challenge.
I will respond to your question first. This idea in ideas of mentoring young evaluators is a new one, and we are developing this idea that how to mentor or take young evaluators into our membership program first. And you will be happy to note that a lot of young evaluators have joined ideas recently. And we are planning to take out an e-journal and also some kind of web-based training workshops and virtual workshops and webinars to mentor the young evaluators. And we are also thinking to have a thematic group where these people could work. And as I said, it is a new idea, so it has to take shape. Another comment I would like to say on coordination and training, I would like to say that in many countries, the training itself is not giving a serious thought. And we have experienced that people who have less work in the organization are sent for training time and again, irrespective of their field of area and expertise. And we have experienced that people have 20, 30 capacity building programs attending without their expertise in that field. So there is a need at local level to sensitize that how important is the capacity building, and for this thing, all the UN agencies as well as the local stakeholders have to come together for such kind of sensitization that training is important and how capacity building at various levels would make a change in the country. And in this, a coordinated effort is extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the, do you have any further comments anyone would like to add? To the panelists for the first round. We still have about 13 minutes. Could we take another round of questions, because this is very, very interesting. So if I just put it, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's take these 4 and then have a further round of response. And please, let's try and provoke the discussion. That's the only way in which we're going to advance it. Thank you. If we could get the mics over there, please. The lady. We just need it for translation on that sort of thing. Thanks. Sorry. Good.
I'm a consultant from IDS, and I worked the past 3 years on an innovation project on impact evaluation for IFAT. And I just wanted to add to the last comments of the panel speakers around involving young researchers and build their capacities, and also involving researchers from local consultancies. So that's exactly what we try to do. I was hired by IFAT to run an innovation project around, funded by DFID and partly by the Gates Foundation, to develop a participatory impact assessment and learning approach that is really looking at also doing a meta-inquiry around the rigor, how to arrive at cause and inference in a rigorous way. And so what we did actually was involving, for instance, in Ghana, involving a local research institution and really build their capacity. So I was on the ground for quite a while to really coach them and train them so that they can take it forward in the next big program, also co-funded by IFAT. And the idea is also to take it forward, actually. The idea is if we could build capacity of these local research institutions who themselves also have an ambition to become research partner and train then other consultancy agencies, then we actually could build a network of local agent institutions within these countries who take it forward and who build the capacity within these countries through a partnership with these UN agencies and these other donors to build the capacity within the country, so that actually knowledge is generated through the impact evaluations as a public good that is owned by the country itself. Thank you.
Can I just continue?
Sure.
Yeah. My name is Barbara Torgler. I work in the Evaluation Office of UNESCO. Thank you for all your deliberations. It's been very inspiring to see how much everybody is committed to evaluation capacity building. I think my question is a little bit a fundamental one, which is about, I mean, I'm just wondering, have we thought it through what this actually means, this paradigm shift that we are talking about in this conference? What does it actually mean ultimately for our evaluation functions? And I think Javier is trying to point to that a little bit. What does it mean for us? I mean, in the future, that evaluations are really supposed to be country-driven? Does it mean that, you know, we let the partners write the terms of reference, ask the evaluation questions, decide who is doing the evaluations, how are they going to be done? I mean, are we ready to let go of all this power? I'm just wondering, you know, what ultimately will change for the way we do business? So, and I'd be curious if you have any thoughts about that.
Thank you. We had a question. Yes, the lady over here.
Thank you very much. My name is Ade Likwichi. I'm with UNDP Gambia. I just want to say, I have 2 remarks. One is in connection with evaluation being popular. I think if we learn from the MDGs, we will see that actually, at the end of the day, even the countries know what the value of being assessed is. And I do not think that they will be negative about it. It's just to be transparent from the beginning. And I think the UN has helped a lot in making sure that the MDGs are integrated in national development plan. So at the end of the day, when countries say that they are doing their MDG report, they have a reference to see where they were and what has happened between that time and now. And it would be very good if, as we're talking about the SDGs, I know they are much more challenging, but we have to start thinking, how do we get involved in ensuring that the SDGs are well integrated in national development plan, that the 224 indicators that we're talking about, that we're able to assess them and make sure that they are integrated in terms of relevance in these plans. That is the only way that we'll see countries actually taking charge and saying that they want evaluation. I'm saying this because yesterday we were talking to parliamentarians, and they were not adverse to that. In fact, they saw it as a way of demonstrating that they are doing their role of representation. So the idea that it could be negative, I think we should look at it from a positive and start seeing how do we advocate for it to be taken as a positive. Under the United Nations Development Framework, I think, again, why are we not doing evaluation? Because some of the UNDAF cannot be evaluatable or whatever we can call it. Now, as I am doing my UNDAF for my country, I'm getting the regional team, the regional evaluation team, coming to say, I will help you to make sure that we will be able to measure your UNDAF if we want to do an evaluation. That is a positive reaction from the team. And that will not make me scared of evaluating. Lastly, which is a request, I think this type of briefing, if it could be shortened or whatever, so that when we have the global management meeting, resident coordinators could also be informed about it. So they do not just see evaluation as a compliance issue, but as a tool to actually enhance the work that they are doing, both as the UN and also their support to countries. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we had one more on that end. No? Okay, then I'll take the gentleman in the front. These are largely comments, not necessarily for response, and I'll just do a quick summation. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm Zulfikar Durrani. I'm from Pakistan and currently Secretary of the Planning and Development Department. Hearing for the last 2 days, as a Secretary, I think my worries are increasing now because this SDG, reporting on SDGs would not be an option, it is mandatory. So how we'll do that, that's a question. When I see UN agencies or UN working, since yesterday we are talking about so many things, that the lack of coordination or so on. One thing that I would like to highlight here, and maybe my government colleagues would not be happy to hear this, this is something that UN in developing countries especially acted like a donor, and which was not their role. Instead, if they should have emerged as facilitator or development partner, and for that, bringing resources from their own resource mobilization was a part of maybe their policy. And one thing which the United Nations agencies and even ignored, that was the national resource leverages. Now, it seems like I'm talking like a UN person, but keeping in view my own worry that maybe soon we'll be reporting on the SDGs, it would be highly important that we concentrate on 2 things. One, we have to have a national evaluation policy, concrete. Secondly, UN at best, since we are listening shrinkage of resources, donors have their own issues. So maybe the best part is, one is evaluation policy, and second, nationally leveraged resources. We can make budgetary allocation in the national budgets. This would be a step if comes from the UN side, a kind of advocacy, very strong advocacy, and recipient side, the government side, because we have to report. So I assure you that there's not dearth of resources if I'm talking about the evaluations. So we can have legally budgetary allocations forever and to report on SDGs. What beyond advocacy UN can do, we have been listening to many things, definitely capacity and technical support at a maximum. And that is also even not at country level, maybe at clusters or regional level, and identification of champions and further rollout. So there could be a detailed program from the UN side, not UN agencies, but UN, and UNEG might be the best forum. This I wanted to share. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that comment and all the comments that have been given. We are coming to the close of the session because there's an important ideas meeting shortly after this. In thanking the panelists, I just wish to highlight the following areas which I caught, which UNEG and ideas needs to take forward. We're fortunate we have our chair of UNEG here and heads of the... And oh, sorry, so there's some work for me as well. But it's definitely a matter that we're going to put on the agenda in terms of the UNEG strategy moving forward. What I did here is the issue of evaluation policy. In fact, that is where the first NEC started. Its greatest input in the early days was getting the countries together to help them to build up a national an evaluation policy. In the absence of a policy, you don't have the legal mandate to push something. And it doesn't come naturally that people are going to do evaluation, because evaluation, whilst technical, is very political. And that needs to be accepted and understood. Within that part is the question of budget allocation. You can have the greatest policy and enthusiasm, but without funding, you're not going to do any work that is seriously important. And I think that's an element that UNEG also needs to look at and take stock and probably push out the data in terms of what various agencies are spending on evaluation, not monitoring and evaluation part. The monitoring is the management function and cannot be double counted and presented as this is part of oversight, because those M officers are embedded within management, and that's what you expect to do in any case. So that distinction between M and E is also quite important. The third point we've heard is the issue of capacity development, which is a word I think that's better than capacity building. Building suggests there's nothing there and we're going out there and we are moving upwards. Development means that we actually have to engage in a discourse that builds on what is there and both sides learn. What I have found in the various countries I work when doing the various assessments, there's a tremendous amount of capacity on the ground. It may not be harmonized, it may not be written up and articulated in a way that it is understood as being credible, but definitely there's a lot going on. And exponentially that is growing, and it's really a lot more apparent than is understood or visible. The point that also emerged and quite strongly is, how do you make evaluation more useful? The assumption that everyone's going to be afraid of evaluation because it's an accountability dimension, a tool of the donors, etc. The best way to advocate is through doing something good. When people begin to see high quality evaluation that can be both accountability and learning, and they're not on two sides of the coin, you cannot have learning without high quality, independent, credible evaluation. That's the first point that needs to be accepted. You can have both. And I think quite often evaluators take the safe path, which is say, we're only focusing on learning because that doesn't upset the principles. But if you're focusing on learning, then call it something else. The key word in evaluation is you make a judgment. And the moment you are going to use that term, then start making the judgment, which also means you need the protections and the balances. But it does not mean that in doing accountability, you cannot promote learning. And it does not mean it has to be always antagonistic. My personal experience in some of the most complex evaluations that have been rolled out is when you have an evaluation process that is adequately participatory, inclusive, and people genuinely listen to each other, irrespective of how sharp the result is in the end, you do get learning and buy-in. And there are several examples of that. And I think evaluators themselves need to become better communicators and be able to connect more and understand that as long as you're dealing with the issue of judgment, you're dealing with people. And if you're dealing with that, you need to orient yourself and do not just be independent for posturing. Independence is an issue of credibility, and independence should give you more of an ability to engage than less of an ability. But it does not mean that the quality goes away. So on the final note, I think UNEG has got its marching orders. We will go back, and I've suddenly been reminded I'm a vice chair. There is that whole area of professionalization that has been a discussion. There's been the discussion of norms and standards, which we're working on. But you can have all the paper and you can have all the policy. If there isn't two factors, the political will, the demand, the supply, and of course, if you don't have evaluation champions and advocates, it makes it very difficult to do the work. So in these difficult times ahead, thank you for your presence. We wish you a pleasant evening and until our discussions tomorrow. Thank you very much. Let's congratulate the panel. Thank you.